A threat to our U.S. troops. We're digging into this. I'm Bill Hemmer live here in New York. Sandra's got the week off for a little bit of vacay time.
Yeah.
How you doing? Welcome back.
Good to see you on a Monday.
You too,
see how I brought the sunshine?
You
are welcome. I'm Julie Banderas in for Sandra Smith, and good morning. Happy Monday to you. White House National Security Advisor John Bolton saying the Pentagon is deploying the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a bomber task force to the region to, quote, send a clear and unmistakable message to the Iranian regime that any attack on United States interests or on those of our allies will be met with unrelenting force.
So that move coming after a violent weekend in Israel. Nearly 700 rockets fired across the border. Any moment now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is set to speak. He's in Finland. But first, here is what he said on the plane ride there about Iran late last night. Listen carefully here.
It is absolutely the case that we've seen escalatory action from the Iranians. And it's equally the case that we will hold the Iranians accountable for attacks on American interests. Those actions take place, if they do, by some third-party proxy, whether that's a Shia militia group or the Houthis or Hezbollah. We will hold the Iranian leadership directly accountable for that.
Lucas Tomlinson begins our coverage. Lucas is live with the Pentagon. This is a move that a lot of people did not see coming. What's it all about, Lucas?
Well, Bill, good morning. Officials here at the Pentagon say the Iranian threat is very real based on new, credible intelligence that just came in over the weekend about possible attacks against U.S. forces in the region. Now, recall, it was just a few days ago on Friday that the Secretary of State and John Bolton were here in the Pentagon going over military options for Venezuela. Now it appears they're doing the same thing for Iran. John Bolton added to his statement, quote, "The United States is not seeking war with the Iranian regime, but we are fully prepared to respond to any attack, whether by proxy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or regular Iranian forces." Right now, the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln remains in the Mediterranean Sea, but that could change very soon, wrapping up joint exercises with NATO partners. Already, 2 guided missile destroyers from the strike group are in the Persian Gulf. USS Kearsarge, an amphibious assault ship with over 1,000 Marines on board, and dozens of helicopters and jets are also in the Persian Gulf with destroyer escorts. Right now, there are no Air Force bombers in the Middle East.
The right to defend themselves. I've seen video that we can't validate just yet, but where there have been strikes on homes, civilian populations. These rockets were fired with civilians around them in order to protect from return fire. This is terrible.
The new Iranian threat comes a month after the Trump administration designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization, and Iran just countered and called all U.S. forces in the region terrorists.
We'll see what happens next there, Lucas. A lot to cover this morning. Thank you from the Pentagon today. 4 minutes now past the hour.
Sources are telling me this morning that Jerry Nadler is going to mark up a resolution this Wednesday to hold Bill Barr in contempt. Is that correct?
Probably so, but I mean, who knows? These guys are bound and determined to go after the Attorney General, to go after President Trump, and not going to focus on what we need to do to help the country.
A 9 a.m. deadline has come and gone. It just passed 4 minutes ago with no word on whether House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler has the unredacted Mueller report. Nadler threatened to hold Attorney General Barr in contempt of Congress if he does not get the full report. Kevin Corke is live at the White House with more. Hi, Kevin.
Julie, good morning. Where this goes is obviously anyone's guess, but what is clear is the White House feels like this is a settled matter. The Mueller report was exhaustive. They simply feel like Democrats are using this as a bit of a political hammer to prevent the president from achieving his agenda. And that remains the belief here at the White House, although we'll see what happens this week as we take you to Capitol Hill on Wednesday, as you heard Maria talking about a possible contempt of Congress charge coming then. Meanwhile, House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler says this isn't about that. It's about the rule of law and getting to the bottom of the Mueller report's findings and some of those discussions between the special counsel Bob Mueller and Attorney General Bill Barr that happened during and after the investigation. Barr, as you know, has offered the report with minimal redactions, but Democrats say they want the underlying evidence as well. GOP lawmakers say there's a reason for all the back and forth.
The Democrats are scared, and frankly, I think when we're talking about obstruction of justice, the real obstruction of justice is what Democrats are trying to do to the Attorney General. They're trying to stop him by all these things, this contempt and not having him come testify. They're trying to stop him from getting the answers that we just talked about.
Also important to point this out, Julie, this is part of a broader debate among Democrats on Capitol Hill about whether to pursue impeachment. and what, if anything, the Mueller report's findings could contribute to that end. As for the president, we know he has been very forceful in his belief that there was no collusion and no obstruction, mirroring what the report said in his opinion. He said this on Twitter: after spending more than $35 million over a 2-year period, interviewing 500 people, using 18 Trump-hating angry Democrats and 49 FBI agents, all culminating in more than 400-page report showing no collusion, all caps. Why would the Democrats in Congress now need Robert Mueller to testify? Are they looking for a redo because they hated seeing the strong no collusion conclusion? There was no crime except on the other side, incredibly not covered in the report, no obstruction. Bob Mueller should not testify, no redos for the Dems. The law does appear to be on the executive branch's side, but it still remains to be seen what lawmakers decide to do as we keep an eye on Wednesday. And anything that might happen before then, Julie. Don't forget, the president will present the Commander-in-Chief's trophy today to the Black Knights of West Point, and Tiger Woods will be here at the White House after 6 o'clock. We'll have that for you, but for now, back to you.
All right, Kevin Corke, thank you so much.
I love that Trump is taking credit for a recovery that started under Obama, but the substance of this, who is this economy going to work for? And we had a tax plan that was all about giving the wealthiest people more of a break. My vision for this country is that we will target things like a massive increase in the earned income tax credit to actual workers. We've got to make sure that this is a shared recovery, because right now it definitely is not.
There is Democratic Senator Cory Booker wants the nomination, meanwhile, believing that President Obama is the one responsible for kickstarting the current boom, which took off under President Trump. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, author of Collusion and a Fox News contributor. How you doing, Mr. Speaker? Good morning to you. There is the book, and here is Larry Kudlow, who wasted no time going out over the weekend and responding to Cory Booker's comment. Watch here.
The point I'm making is it's the blue-collar people that have the fastest job expansion, and it's the blue-collar people that have the best wage growth. So what Mr. Booker and some others are saying is simply not true factually. That's all I want to make point.
Oh, size it up right now. Trump's taking the credit. Apparently, Cory Booker doesn't think he should. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Larry Kudlow coined the phrase prosperity cycle, and I think that captures what's going on. We cut taxes, we cut regulations, we encourage businesses, we particularly encourage the dramatic development of energy. We now have dramatically bigger exports. Actually, the most recent data is that the poorest 1/4 of the country is getting a bigger pay raise than our people in the upper income levels. So this is the right kind of recovery. Blue-collar workers going back to work, manufacturing growing dramatically, and I think the fact is that anybody who is serious knows that none of this had anything to do with Barack Obama. Obama's policies and the policies of the Socialist Democrats are policies of high taxes, big regulations, anti-business attitudes, and they had led us to a very, very weak economy, averaging about 1.6% growth. Trump has beaten that every single quarter since he became president, and it's getting stronger and better. And I think it's sad that the Democrats can't learn anything. You know, if you're so busy despising your opponent, whether it's in football or baseball or basketball, if you can't learn from your opponent when they beat you, you have a real hard time in the next game. And it's clear that Cory Booker is learning nothing, doesn't want to learn anything, and just goes out and repeats rhetoric that's false.
I wonder if you saw the Wall Street Journal polling number that came out over the weekend. Approval of the president right now is at 46%. You want that number higher, certainly, but handling the economy is at 51%. How do you move column A to column B, Mr. Speaker?
Oh, I think persistent effort. I think the president, remember, he's just coming out from under 92% negative press coverage, a 2-year investigation that turned out to be totally phony. I mean, I don't know of any president in our lifetime who's carried as many negative burdens from the political class as President Trump has. And I think that's a very important thing to remember. The savagery and the hostility of the left has been unlike anything I've seen. And I would say, as Alan Guelzo, the great historian at Gettysburg College, said, you have to go back to Lincoln and the savagery of the slave-owning newspapers to see the kind of intensity we saw against Trump. I think as we get beyond that, his numbers are going to keep going up. As he continues to do a good job, his numbers are going to keep going up. And as people realize, you know, you may or may not like his style, but you sure have to like his results.
Now, one more point here. See the New York Times piece over the weekend. Nancy Pelosi, I think it came out on Friday evening. Here's the headline. Pelosi warns Democrats stay in the Senate or Trump may contest election results. The article's interesting. Here's what I think is the key quote. For reflecting on midterms, she does, and looking toward 2020, our passions were for health care, bigger paychecks, cleaner government, a simple message. We did not engage in some of the other exuberances that exist in our party. I think you know to what she is referring. You had that job. Go ahead and analyze how she has done and whether or not she can keep her team on message.
Look, she had better hope that Joe Biden is the nominee, if that's what she wants to achieve, because nobody else is going to have any chance of doing what she just said. This is a party which now stands for infanticide, killing babies after they're born. It has one of its strongest candidates calling for allowing terrorists and murderers to vote while they're still in prison. It stands for abolishing all private health insurance, which is about a 15% issue. You can go down item after item, and the Democrats are running rapidly to become a party of about 15 to 20% support on the issues. So she's right in terms of her language, but I don't know that she can control her party because all of the energy and drive is on the left.
Sir, thank you for your time. Come back soon, okay? Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker. More to analyze ahead. Thank you. 12 minutes now past the hour.
He may be speaking to reporters before turning himself in, and if he does that, we will take you there live.
Right. Also, President Trump.
All of that next.
It would be the best outcome for the world, and Chairman Kim's commitment that he made to President Trump back in Singapore remains in effect. He has said he's prepared to denuclearize. My task as America's most senior diplomat is to achieve that.
A Fox News alert. Buckingham Palace says Prince Harry's wife, Meghan Markle, has gone into labor with their first child. Now, we know that she is in labor. We know that Harry is by her side, and we know that her mother had actually flown there about a week ago. But we also know that they want to keep this thing very secret and under wraps. She wants to have a home birth. She has definitely been breaking the mold when it comes to royal babies. She doesn't want to take a picture right after giving birth. I do not blame her. And they said that they will be releasing official photographs with the family when they are ready. So good luck to Meghan Markle right now.
17 past. Back to one of our big stories of the day now. The Pentagon sending the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a bomber task force to the Persian Gulf. General Jack Keane is chairman for the Institute of Study of War, Fox News strategic analyst. Sir, how you doing? Good morning to you. Got three big topics. They're all very newsworthy. What is the indication as to what Iran is up to with our response on this overnight, sir?
Well, it's likely the Iranians are reacting to designating the IRGC as a terrorist organization and the fact that the United States will not continue the waivers that 5 countries have in trading oil with Iran. And underscoring that, Bill, is the fact that the sanctions are really taking its toll inside Iran. So they are likely preparing to do something against U.S. troops in that area is what we have picked up. And we've got troops in Syria, Iraq, in Qatar, in Bahrain, and also at an air base up in Turkey. And we've got an embassy, obviously, in every country in the region as well.
Let's watch that and watch this, too. Over the weekend, 700 rockets, close to that number anyway, fired into Israel. You've got dozens dead on both sides here. I think 4 in Israel, 27, I think, in Gaza was the number that I saw. Here's the tweet from the president yesterday. Once again, he writes, Israel faces a barrage of deadly rocket attacks by terrorist groups Hamas and Islamic Jihad. We support Israel 100% as defense of citizens. To the Gazan people, these terrorist attacks against Israel will bring you nothing but more misery and the violence and work toward peace. It can happen. They have called a stalemate or a ceasefire, I should say, at the moment, sir. How concerned are you about this growing situation?
Well, it doesn't take much to spark.
Has not yet been able to get precisely what he wanted, but we hope that we can get back to the table and find the path forward. We're further along than we were a year ago, and we hope we can continue to make progress.
So then he met with Putin last week. Put the two together, if you can, sir.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un has been looking for leverage ever since from his advisors in future negotiations by calling out Secretary Pompeo and Ambassador John Bolton, our national security advisor, because he always believes he can make a deal with President Trump. We're not going to do that. We're going to do some low-level negotiations first and make certain there are actual signs this time that Kim Jong-un is serious about denuclearization.
Well, he literally held his fire for about 500 days. We'll see what's next. Sir, thank you very much. Jack Keane in Washington. Much more on Iran and Israel. Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, is our guest. He is live 10:30 Eastern time, just about an hour from now. All right, now, Julie.
All right, brand new report out. Boeing knew of a safety problem with its 737 MAX jets for a year, but apparently didn't fully disclose it to the airlines until after 2 deadly crashes. What consequences will the company face?
Miami air charter planes getting off the runway in Florida over the weekend. The Boeing 737-800 jet, not a 737 MAX, rolled off the tarmac, landing in the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. NTSB is investigating how this happened. Check it out. Have a listen here.
We're going to be very careful about how we move the aircraft because we want to preserve it and all of the perishable evidence that goes along with that. So a great care will be emphasized in that. That will also allow us to get to the cockpit voice recorder, which is still in the tail of the aircraft and underwater.
Here is the best news. Everyone on board survived. 21 people, however, sent to hospital for treatment in Jacksonville.
Meanwhile, even more headaches for Boeing today. A new report out suggests the company kept a critical safety defect hidden from the FAA and airlines for a whole year. The Wall Street Journal reporting Boeing actually knew about a problem with its cockpit safety alert system, a major defect, then neglected to fully disclose the issue until after 2 deadly crashes involving 737 MAX jets. Lauren Simonetti of Fox Business Network is here. This is really shocking to hear.
It is. It's unbelievable, Julie. We're hearing the admission from Boeing themselves. This is their statement in part. Boeing engineers had identified the software issue in 2017 and had determined, per Boeing's standard process, that the issue did not adversely impact airplane safety. Boeing knew the year before the first fatal crash, that was the Lion Air crash in Indonesia in 2018, that there was an issue with the warning light in the popular 737 MAX jet. That light sends an alarm to pilots if sensors that measured the pitch of the plane were faulty, because if they were, they activated a feature that automatically pushed the plane's nose down. So the jet was falling instead of flying, and in man versus machine, machine took over. The same tragic situation occurred in the second deadly 737 crash in Ethiopia in March. And as you saw in that statement, Boeing thought neither regulators, the carriers, nor the company's own top management needed to know about this issue because they argued it didn't affect the jet's safety. Boeing did convene another safety review. I do want to point that out. It also concluded that the absence of that warning alert was not a safety issue at the time, Julie.
Okay, I mean, I'm just thinking lawsuits, major lawsuits here. I mean, what do investigators, lawyers, and victims do with all this information?
They try to figure out what Boeing knew and when they knew it. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that government prosecutors and FBI agents, they asked a former Boeing employee about the development and the approval of the plane. Boeing, meanwhile, is trying to repair its damaged reputation with regulators and the flying public. If you look at the market will sell off today in 3 minutes when the market opens. Boeing stock down about 3%. That will push the Dow down about 70, 80 points at the open.
I could see Boeing coming out and offering settlements because this could be really bad for business.
It's going to hurt their bottom line,
All
absolutely.
right. Lauren Simonetti, thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. Breaking news from Russia, too. Now another plane crash there. This one, a deadly one in Russia. Have you seen this video? 41 people died.
Moments from now, with futures already seen plummeting after President Trump threatens new China tariffs. What will happen on Wall Street today, Bill?
Also, Michael Cohen goes to prison today, 5 months after he received his sentence, but not apparently before he talks to the cameras on his way out. All of this is a deadline for the full, unredacted Mueller report comes and goes, and Saul Weisenberg is our guest next live. He's going to take us through that coming up. Stay tuned.
Many of my Democratic friends thought that Mueller was going to indict the president. And so the Mueller report was kind of like a hair on their biscuit. And now they don't know what to do, so they're attacking Bill Barr. It's time to move on.
This is what we woke up to earlier today, 9:32. Stocks are open here in New York City, off 400 at the open. Just about, what, an hour or two ago, that was expected to be below 500 points. So we'll see where we go. All this is a reaction now to the Chinese tariffs. The president tweeting this: the United States has been losing for many years $600, $800 billion a year on trade. With China, we lose $500 billion. Sorry, we're not going to be doing that anymore. Also, you've got reaction now from the tariffs going from 10% to 25%. That was the message that went out Sunday morning from the White House and the president. So market's not liking that. Bit of a speed bump right now at an otherwise pretty good time for the market. It's been on a tear ever since we saw some really low numbers, I should say, around Christmas Eve. But January and February and March, it's been booming right now. But this is going to be a problem today.
All right. Well, we're going to have to see how it rolls out.
Yes, we shall. But if you move from 10% to 25%, we'll see how that impacts things. We'll see how, domestically, our farmers react, and what the administration does too. Right now, they're holding firm.
Yeah, well, they're very proud of what they've done so far, and they credit the economy to this Trump administration.
We'll see if they ultimately get a deal done, right? Okay, in the meantime, we've got 9:33. Time now for the president's former attorney, Michael Cohen, to go to jail. Reports to the federal prison today, Otisville, New York, which is about an hour north of New York City. He starts serving a 3-year sentence for campaign finance violations, for tax evasion, for bank fraud, and for lying to Congress. David Lee Miller live outside the apartment in New York with the latest there. And what do you know about where Michael Cohen is at the moment? David Lee?
Well, Bill, good morning. Presumably, Michael Cohen is in his apartment here at Trump Park Avenue, but we have not seen him. We can only presume he is upstairs enjoying his final hours of freedom. Take a look over my shoulder off in the distance here on the posh Upper East Side, and you can see the more than dozen news crews and reporters anxiously awaiting his arrival. He has indicated that he wants to speak to reporters. A mic stand is set up, but that remains to be seen whether or not he is actually going to hold any type of a news conference. On Sunday, he kept a very low profile. He was not seen. Saturday, he was spotted walking around Manhattan. He even took a number of selfies with people who spotted him on the street. There are reports he got a $95 haircut. He was spotted at a couple of very exclusive restaurants. But he also asked reporters to respect the privacy of his family.
I have no problem with any of you. I'm the first guy who allows it. You cross the line. It's my family. Trump has already done enough damage to them. You don't need to add to it. So please do me a favor. Please you just stay away. I never do this to the press. But what you did, you're putting my family in danger, and it's not acceptable.
As you mentioned, in the next few hours, he is going to be on his way to the Federal Correctional Facility, Otisville. It is there that he will spend the next 3 years. There is a minimum, and there is also a medium security prison at this location. He is going to be at the minimum facility, Bill. We are told that there are 5 bed checks every day. Breakfast starts at 6 in the morning. Dinner is at 4:15. And when it comes to recreation, the facility has weights, cardio, bocce ball, but according to the prison handbook, there is no running or walking after sundown. There are a number of other high-profile inmates at this location. Among them, we are told, the reality star from the TV show Jersey Shore, Mike the Situation Sorrentino, and Billy McFarland, the founder of the Fire Music Festival. So at this hour, Michael Cohen enjoying his last brief few moments of freedom. He has to check into the prison no later, Bill, than 2 o'clock East Coast time. That means he can leave his apartment house here no later than 12 p.m., or else he's going to have a problem with prison officials. That gives him about 2 hours remaining in his New York City apartment.
Well, we're
Bill?
told he speaks, and if he does, we'll bring our viewers there. Thank you, David Lee Miller, Upper East Side, Manhattan, New York.
We obviously have to wait till the morning to see if the Attorney General will comply. I think if the Attorney General does not, the chairman will ask the committee to move forward with a contempt citation.
House Democrats doubling down on a threat to issue a contempt citation against the Attorney General if he didn't produce the unredacted Mueller report by 9 a.m. this morning. That was 36 minutes ago, throwing the ball back in the court of House Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler. Let's bring in Sol Weisenberg, former Deputy Independent Counsel and a Fox News contributor. Good morning, Sol. Okay, so the deadline set by House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler has come and gone. It was at 9 a.m. Does he still have time to produce this unredacted report, or is it safe to say we won't be seeing it, at least not today?
Oh, I think Attorney General Barr has made it clear that you're not going to be seeing it. He can't, first of all, he can't hand over grand jury material because he'd be in violation of the criminal law if he did that. They're asking him to commit a federal crime. You have to go to a court and get authority to do that. And by the way, Congress really, if you look at the statute, at the Rule 6E, which is a rule, but it has the force of statute, the only entity that can go to a court and ask is the executive branch.
If the House Judiciary holds Barr in contempt, I want to talk about what happens there. Is he better off releasing the report, or does he continue to fight it?
Well, they can hold him in contempt, but if they try to enforce that in some way in court, which I don't think they can, it doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, the Congress held Eric Holder in contempt and asked if I remember correctly, it was in Republican Congress, then asked the Democratic Justice Department to enforce the contempt citation in court, and they refused to do so. So I don't think anything's really going to happen. I mean, technically, they have the authority to send a sergeant of arms to try to arrest him. I don't think that's even been attempted in something like 150 years. And I don't think it would go well.
No, it probably wouldn't. Politically, this whole thing is a mess. And I say politically because that's what this is. Previous legal battles, you mentioned Eric Holder, but, you know, between where Congress's subpoena power ends and the president's executive privilege power begins, the courts have said that the Constitution requires both sides to negotiate in good faith to find a solution. But if a negotiation is not met, and at this point it doesn't seem to be heading in that direction, is Nadler setting up a record, you think, in order for House lawyers to bring up in litigation before a judge to find the administration's position unreasonable?
Well, I don't know in what context it would be relevant that the administration is unreasonable. I know that courts typically, not all the time, but typically do not get involved in disputes between the executive and the legislative branch. They let those branches work it out. And I can tell you, it's a preposterous legal position for Congress to say that Barr must release a report that has grand jury material in it. It's not a privilege issue. It's a criminal violation for Barr to release it without a court order. And I don't see how the legislative branch can force the Attorney General to go to a court and say, get a court order. Right. First of all, it's not even clear he would get the court order, but they just can't do that. So I think their position is ludicrous, but they have to destroy Barr. They have to destroy Barr because he's effective. Okay,
I have to end it with the question of to testify or not to testify. On Friday, the president had said that it was up to Attorney General William Barr whether or not Robert Mueller testifies before Congress. Then yesterday, he changed his tune. He said that Mueller should not testify. He tweeted, no redos for the Dems. So my question to you is this going to put Barr in a compromising position after he himself last week said that he had no objection to Mueller testifying?
I think that, first of all, the president didn't say, I'm not going to let him testify. He just said, I don't think he should. So we may not have that conflict. Barr could decide to resign over it, or Barr could say he's the president, he makes that decision. But it's really a non-issue because Mueller can solve it by quitting, by resigning. Once he resigns, there's no privilege issue that keeps him from testifying. So I think this is another one of these non-issues. If it really comes to a head, Mueller's going to quit soon anyway. He can quit and say, all right, call me, I'll come testify.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Sol Weisenberg, never a dull moment. Thank you very much for coming in and weighing in.
Sure.
Nice to see you. 19 before the hour. Joe Biden's on the campaign trail from South Carolina over the weekend.
This election is different than any presidential election in any one of our lifetimes. Not because I'm running, not because others are running, because we really are at a place where literally our democracy is at stake right now.
Well, who's got the best message to take on the president in 2020? The A-team's on deck. Coming up shortly to take that on. Julie?
But first, ICE is getting new leadership. President Trump naming a former Obama Border Patrol chief to head up ICE as the crisis on the border continues. What impact can he make? Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan is here with his take.
Congress has shown again and again their failure to do what's right. Again, they want to eat the elephant in one bite instead of looking at what they need to do right now, and that is legislative fixes.
A Fox News alert. It is official. It is a boy. Yes, that is true. Meghan Markle has given birth, as we've all been anticipating. And in fact, Harry came out to deliver the news that they had had the baby. They've been keeping this very tightly under wraps. We only just got a moment ago word that she was in labor. So let's listen to Harry right now giving the good news.
I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine.
Now, remember, she had a home birth, so he is coming out after just basically experiencing the best moment of his life. Very unlike previous royalty, because they come out together, and the mother, Kate, for example, comes out looking flawless. But Meghan didn't want to do that this time, and I don't blame her.
Normally, it's a couple days later when they take that photo, but they're clearly a really happy man. Listen, congratulations. Harry looks happy. I'm certain that that mother is fine as well.
Yes.
So. Good deal. They got a boy.
I was thinking a girl. I was actually thinking a girl. They were going to name her Diana. I guess they'll have to wait till baby 2.
Attaboy. It's a boy. 46 past the hour now. Here we go.
I'm not a political guy. I'm a law enforcement guy. But what I want the American people to know are facts, truths, and honest historical data. And we need to have intellectually honest conversations. And I'm telling you, what Beto O'Rourke and other politicians are saying, that is unsafe for this country. Americans are going to have a choice. Either we have secure borders or we have open borders. They're going to have a choice to make.
Well, that is Mark Morgan, President's choice to run Immigration and Customs Enforcement. If confirmed, he will take over for Ron Vitiello, who resigned as acting director last month. His credentials include a 20-year career at the FBI. Tom Homan-Nosman, former acting ICE director, Fox News contributor. He worked under President Obama. You know him. What do you think of this decision here, sir?
Look, you got to respect Mark Morgan wanting to jump back in the fight, right? I know what it's like. I came back from retirement when President wanted me to run ICE, which I did for a year and a half. It's a tough decision, and Mark had a tough decision, but I think he's doing the right thing. He spent his career in law enforcement. The president has asked him to help, and he's coming back into the fight. So I respect anybody that's willing to come back in such a difficult fight when half of Congress does not support what ICE does. So he's going to take that on every day. So hats off to Mark Morgan.
What he
I think he's doing a good job.
He says the immigration laws are broken. I know you agree with him on that. Elizabeth Warren sent out a tweet over the weekend. She talked about one of her competitors, Julian Castro. She says he's right. No person is illegal, and our law should reflect that. I admire his smart ideas on reforming immigration laws. We should all pay attention to them. No person is illegal. So on the left, in the primary season, how much of that statement is going to become an issue?
I think it's a huge issue. Look, when someone knowingly violates the laws of this country, they enter this country illegally, it is a crime. So I would say Julian Castro needs to review 8 United States Code 1325. It's clear in the statute. When you enter this country illegally, it's a crime. And they refer to them in the statute as illegal alien. I know they like to use the term immigrants or undocumented. The law clearly states illegal aliens when you enter the United States illegally. It's a crime. And it should be a crime. We have a right to be a sovereign country and protect our borders. We can't have an open border. We need to control who comes in this country.
You see that piece in the New York Times from yesterday on Sunday? Here was the headline so our viewers have it. Congress give Trump his border money. No, it's not for building the wall. They go on to explain this. President Trump is right. There is a crisis at the southern border, just not the one he rants about. As record numbers of Central American families flee violence and poverty in their homelands, they are overwhelming U.S. border systems, fueling a humanitarian crisis of overcrowding, disease, and chaos. Something needs to be done soon. So it gave the White House a nod of sorts on this.
Well, they should. Look, there is a crisis on the border, and they like to blame the president for this. Well, there was a crisis back in FY14 and 15 under Jay Johnson. We had a record number of families. So whose fault was that? This is the fault of those who don't want to fix our broken immigration laws. They got to address the loopholes that bring these people. So it is a national. It is. a national security issue, so I'm glad they support the president getting money to help address it.
Well, Tom Homan, thanks for coming back here, sir. We'll lean on you for your expertise again very soon. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. You bet. Julie, what's next?